back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us on a Thursday. By the way, we do have a lot of platforms. If you missed any of the show, any day, really. JD, why don't you give them that information? Where can they follow us? Where can they catch all of our segments?
So everything the Vegas Take, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play. We'll be on Roku soon, so we'll be on Amazon Alexa as well. We are pretty much all over the place, but it's always the Vegas Take and www.thevegastake.com, as well as every single show is on SoundCloud roughly a half hour after it ends. If you ever want to re-listen to anything, that's how you go. You go to our SoundCloud, which again is the Vegas Take.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about this. We haven't really brought it up yet, and that's Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher Felipe Vazquez. He is in a lot of trouble.
And you know what? He actually throws 102 miles an hour. He had a 1.68 ERA. He was an outstanding talent. The fact that this happened
and you say
is not a good thing. Was, exactly.
Because apparently he's had sexual relations with a 13-year-old girl. You want to talk about disgusting.
Not just relations, but, I mean, we're talking 5 or 6 months of communication.
This is really bad. Now, listen. I don't condone a 40, 35, 40, 45, whatever-year-old man having a relationship with a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old. But I still think that there is a huge distinction between having being with someone that might be a year underage or being with someone, every state's different, that's 17 years old, for example, which I wouldn't condone. And then someone that is 13. You want to talk about absolutely disgusting. So he was arraigned this week. And they took his computer. Apparently, he has computer pornography on there as well.
Obviously.
And luckily, they denied him bail, so it doesn't matter how much money this guy has. He's probably never getting out of jail, or at least not anytime soon anyway. First of all, the first thing that people want to talk about is his career. No, I want to talk about what a scumbag he is and what he did to this poor young girl. And where were the parents here? I'd like to know the answer to that as well. And then we can talk about his career. Listen, he'll probably never be a pitcher again. He's probably going to get, 5 to 10? He's gonna go to jail for a long time, right? I don't know what the laws are here.
I'm not even sure if he's a United States citizen. He might not be.
Yeah.
He's a younger guy. He just got into the league. But the reason I brought up his accolades is this guy could have been the best closer since Mariano Rivera. I mean, he had that type of ability and talent. So to throw it all away for something like this, he must have some serious mental issues.
He's got to. Well, and listen, any adult over the age of 16, even for that matter, or 18, that decides to have a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old, obviously there's something extremely wrong with you mentally. And I believe he needs to go to jail and needs to go to jail for a long time. But Kevin Hart's in a little bit of trouble, too. This guy, as you know, was in a very serious car accident a few weeks ago, almost lost his life. And thank God he's doing much better now, and he's expected to make a full recovery. But it's a story that involves Las Vegas. He was named in a $60 million suit by a woman in a 2017 sex tape that occurred at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas. Her name is Mantia Sabaj, and she's alleges in a federal lawsuit that was filed this week that a sex tape between her and Kevin Hart was filmed without her knowledge or consent while she was engaged in private, consensual sexual relations.
$60 million?
Yep, the incident became public.
So her damages are $60 million.
That's what the suit claims.
That means that she believes that she is out of $60 million in earnings because of this suit.
Yeah. The incident became public back in September of 2017 after the tape was published online, and Hart addressed the tape at the time, writing on Instagram that he was being extorted and apologizing to his wife and kids. So this is the tough part for him, is that he's married.
Right. No, I understand that.
And obviously, he's kind of a scumbag, and he got caught. So that's the only reason why he's apologizing. Look, this guy has a history of saying some things, homosexual things, and he's no stranger to controversy. But this is obviously a lot of money even for Kevin Hart. And listen, if you decide that you're going out with a girl or a guy, whatever, I'm not going to go there again. But if you have a date with somebody,
let's talk about it.
And you're having sexual relations, and you decide to set up a phone or a camera without the other person's consent, that is a serious crime, especially if you post it somewhere or show it to a friend.
It's definitely a serious crime, but $60 million is an unbelievably ridiculous number.
She's alleging, though,
there is no chance that she would have anywhere.
That's not true.
To make that type of money.
That's not true. Here's why I disagree with you.
What's her career?
That's what I'm gonna explain here. The damages. She is claiming, and I don't know if she's going to get all this money or not. She's certainly going to get some, I think. But she is claiming, and apparently there is text messages, and there might be some proof here that that Hart, with one of his friends, put this all together based on the fact that he wanted to get his name out there and become more popular and more famous, and he thought this was the best way to do it.
2 years ago?
That's what it's claiming. Now, he was pretty famous a couple of years ago.
He was extremely famous 5 years ago.
But as we know, with these celebrities, it made Kim Kardashian's career, whatever that was. It made Paris Hilton's career, whoever that was. When they get these sex tapes out there, I don't know if it'd work with a man, but you get these sex tapes out there, it gets your name out there. I don't know if she's telling the truth or not.
Maybe if this was 2006, but 2017, Kevin Hart was in a very, very popular film with Will Ferrell where he got paid $20 million. He was making $5 million for 4 or 5 shows in a weekend.
I understand.
He was doing 4 shows. I think the timing on this is off, and I think $60 million is an extremely unreasonable. Again, what was her career?
I don't know. I don't know anything about this woman.
Was she the CEO of a Fortune 25 company?
I don't know. If that was the case, then certainly she'd have a bigger claim.
Exactly.
But
was she a hooker?
All I'm saying is I don't trust Kevin Hart. To say that, and he's claiming that he didn't know the cameras are in there, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy that for a second. I think Kevin Hart's a liar. You mean to tell me that his friends set up stuff in there and he had no knowledge that he was having sex with this woman? I find it a little bit strange that, I just think he's lying, man. I think he's lying.
And again, my issue is with the $60 million. Now, $1.5–2 million, okay, but $60 million, it makes me question the validity of the woman.
Well, did you say the same thing when we had the situation with those school kids and the guy from Indian Cent, and they sued for $200 million? I forgot the name.
Absolutely, I said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I said 2.5 to 5 made sense. His mom was receiving life threats. I think that people are going to remember who this kid is for the next 20 or 30 years. I think it could affect him in his employment later in his life.
We see this all the time.
These numbers are unbelievable.
But we see this all the time in these types of lawsuits where the attorney will put a ridiculous number out there, and then usually there'll be a settlement out of court. They're not gonna lowball. They're gonna start with a very high settlement, and then take it from there.
But again, I think that when the number is that high and there isn't something backing it up, it makes me question the validity of the person who is suing. And I said the same thing about the Covington kid. Sandman, $250 million was way too much money.
Well, since we're on the topic of child pornography, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. We'll continue to monitor by this Kevin Hart story. Apparently, child pornography was found on the phone of a Pennsylvania state senator, Mike Fulmer. Have you heard about this story?
Yeah, and he resigned very quickly.
Yeah, so he resigned. 63 years old. You want to talk about, and look, make no mistake about it, this is a mental illness. This is a sickness.
And apparently it's very prevalent. We keep hearing about it more and more.
I'm trying to remember the Hans, I think was his name, the magician that used to do a show here.
Hans Cloak?
No, not Hans Cloak. Oh. There was a magician that was in Las Vegas that was arrested for child porn. And not only did he, lose his job, and he'll never be a magician again. A 20-year-long illusionist. Jan Reuven is the guy I'm thinking of, by the way. And I've seen his show, by the way, before, and it was fantastic. The great magician. He did a great job. So they found child pornography on his computer. They found it in his home. He immediately lost the show. I think the last show he did was at Tropicana, if I'm not mistaken. He's in federal prison right now. This was a Las Vegas headliner that was world-renowned and obviously had a sickness, but what he did was even worse than what some of these other people are doing. And listen, it's horrible. If you have any type of child porn on your computer, it's terrible. This guy was actually making the child porn himself. You want to talk about even a step further? I mean, it's just awful. And we talked a lot about this earlier.
And that is sexual deviant behavior. That is actually sexually deviant behavior. But going to a pornographic site or following a porn star on Twitter is not. And there is a giant difference between the two. Of
course there's a big difference between the two. Make no mistake about it. Of course there is. But, we had this guy from Mass Resistance that was on the show in the first hour, and we had him on, anti-gay group that's against these people that are dressing up as women, that are reading books in libraries to kids. And we had him on in the first hour, and he made some ridiculous claims. And like I've said on this show, I'll say it again, if you say something that is ridiculous, if you say something that is out of touch, insane, we're going to call you out on it. And usually, not all the time, but usually when you make a ridiculous claim, usually when you are completely anti-gay, anti-homosexual, usually those type of people are the ones that have the most issues in their own lives. And I see it all the time. It happens all the time. Now, listen, this magician in Las Vegas, Jan Reuven, I don't know. I don't know what happened in his childhood, but certainly something bad